Hello and welcome to another Tech Time Today live stream. I'm doing a few of these at least once a week on various topics as I continue to pull together some more edited content. Today, I'm going to be talking about one hilarious article that I ran into. I find it hilarious on a number of levels about using adversarial SEO, Black Hat SEO tricks in order to mess with LLMs. I'm going to get into that. But actually, first, I want to just mention quickly, not the main topic of what I'm going over in this video, but I finally got my Limitless device here. So I'm really excited about this. It's basically something that, I mean, really simply just records audio for the most part. So you wear it around and it just records everything, but the software behind it will obviously use LLMs to allow you to analyze, it transcribes that and then allows you to analyze what has happened in your life. So I've actually, even before I saw that this company exists, and there's a couple other competitors that are doing something similar. I, right when OpenAI initially came out with its original chat-based LLM product, ChatGPT, I had an idea for doing something similar to this, and basically, I wanted something where I can just have the entirety of everything involved with my life kind of accessible through my own personal um, AI for actually two reasons. And I don't know if this will live up to the promise, but this is the way I was originally thinking about it before I knew this even existed. So for me, it was number one, to be able to talk to myself in a more efficient way. So all the time I forget stuff. All the time I am thinking to myself, trying to either think about strategy or sometimes kind of like parse through things that happened in the past, both for work and for other things outside of work. And so I see this as a way, if it works well, of kind of improving my own, forget about involving anybody else, just my own kind of ability to function in the way that and do the things that I want. So I am hopefully going to be able to, over time, start asking a lot of questions to my AI that is kind of trained from what is recorded. And then the other thing that I don't think this is even something that currently this product is geared towards, but the other thought I had when I was originally thinking about this was that you can optionally allow other people to ask your AI stuff. And so it sort of is like a stand-in for you. And so there's some things out there, some AI based products that are out there which will train on your kind of like publicly available content and tend to be you. And I've seen a couple things out there. I forgot the names of them, but this would be like kind of a better version of it. And in the ultimate case, one idea I had like along this way, and then this is just a short thing, and then I'll move on to the main topic for this. But that would be that you could really start to fine tune your AI into, well, maybe certain personas of yourself, but like maybe even start to train it towards being sort of like the most r- realistic or most true to who you are, so that after you're gone, after you're dead, your loved ones can continue to talk to your AI about stuff. And that's like a one use case down the road or whatever. But I don't know. I mean, it's like sort of Black Mirror like, and I'm surprised Black Mirror hasn't done an episode on that specifically. But it's not actually, I think, too far off from the technology we already have. There's some things that I think we are further off than people think, but having some form of you, who you are, continue to live on through some of these AIs actually um, is not far away in some sense. And in the Marvel comic books, the what is the Kree have this super intelligence, which is the uh, combined essence or the thought of their leaders from history or whatever. You could take your individual long living AI that your ancestors can talk to, combine it with other ones and have that collective too. So you could have the Cree super intelligence thing. I mean, there's all sorts of different interesting things that you can do. But it all starts with this type of thing. Recording your personal thoughts and starting to gather a lot of that and form it into this. So who knows? We'll see. I'll maybe give an update in a little while. For things that I've found useful doing this and not. And I'm sure some of the other weird things, other people mind that they're being recorded? And if they do, why does it matter if you're not actually publishing anywhere? It's just a matter of helping yourself remember more. I mean, it's the same thing as talking to you. As long as the security is there, and then it talks about, then it's an issue about security. I mean, there's all right, we can go down all sorts of rabbit holes with this thing. So I am really interested in it, but let's put that to the side for now as something that is cool that I'll talk about in the future. But for today, I want to talk about this article. I'm going to share my screen right now for this thing that I think I had heard people talking about something similar to this online at some point. And then this article, which is done in like a sort of scientific paper like format, is talking about essentially using nothing. It's nothing new or innovative, really. It's in fact stuff that is old school that has been mostly abandoned because it doesn't work for SEO anymore. So there's some SEO black hat tricks, but then use it of how to like mess with LLMs. And so the idea is, I mean, there's other intricacies here, but you essentially, well, they're calling it prompt injection, but uh, it has other cloaking, other names for it in the SEO side. But essentially, you are putting certain content specifically for robots to pick up, for crawlers to pick up that humans don't see. So you can do this in a number of different ways. One of the ways is that you use like white text on white background, so users will never see it, but a bot that's just crawling HTML will see it, who doesn't actually render the HTML. Another way is um, that you specifically your server side code would check to see if it's a bot or not and give it different content than what users will see. But in any case, what you're doing is starting to, well, so you can use this in different strategies. So let's just take that first of all, that the bots are seeing something that humans are not, right? Now, why does this matter? Because you can start to use this to trick the LLMs that are not okay. Actually, let me take it back up. I'm gonna stop sharing for a second so we can explain one of the basics here. So I should explain first before getting into like the funny thing with LLMs, why this isn't really something that works anymore for SEO. And it basically comes down to that the Google crawler is much more sophisticated now than it used to be. So it will pick up on these types of tricks, these black hat tricks, to try to that are specifically geared to try to seed the crawler with certain information or whatever, and it will give it negative signals because you know the crawler basically uh, Google has actually a couple different ways of doing it. They have actually a renderer um, that will see the rendered page and has a way of detecting what the user visually sees. But then they also have users that check over certain things like actual human users. So they have a couple different approaches that ultimately leads to when you try to do these tricks to game search engines, to game like Google search, it leads to a negative impact because they do spend a lot of time and effort detecting these specific tricks. But a lot of these new crawlers, so a lot of LLMs are using search crawlers that are not that sophisticated, that crawl through the web. And it is hard. It is a technical challenge to build an effective search crawler. And for people that have not done it yet, I would feel free to try because at the network level, there's all sorts of stuff that uh, goes into trying to stop denial of service attacks. And I know we're deviating a little bit from the main thing, which is like how to trick the LLMs. But like, I just want to explain some of the background here. So because there's a lot of denial of service and other things that there's at the network level, it doesn't allow you to just crawl pages like endlessly. Like you'll immediately get stopped and banned at the network level if you try to do that. So you end up having to jump through a lot of hoops, use a lot of cloud-based networks that have multiple different sources crawling different pages so that it looks like it's real traffic. I mean, there's a whole technical challenge just to be able to crawl without getting blocked. And most of the LMs are doing those things because they have to. It's a whole other thing that trying to assess the pages in a way that you can detect some of these various black hat SEO tricks. And I suspect the the only reason that Google search and maybe like Bing and whatever else are able to do it is because they are kind of like well-known bots that are almost like whitelisted at the network level. That there are in Cloudflare and a lot of the various network providers, they do allow people to block even the well-known bots, but like there is like a different category of them that they if you try to basically if you try to do the things that Google search does because you're not a well-known bot coming from whitelisted source IPs and everything like that, you're going to get blocked. And even if you got past that, it requires a ton more, essentially money to be able to detect these black hat tricks because you have to do a lot more processing, a lot more work on your side to render the page, the client side rendering, doing a lot of those things. And so, because of all that, most of these new LM companies, OpenAI included, don't do that. They will just take shortcuts, just do kind of the basic server rendering, grabbing the HTML content, parsing out that, etc. And when you do that, yeah, these old tricks that people haven't used in a decade, uh, Black Hat SEO tricks now work from the sense that the LMs will pick up on it and will include that. And I mean, it's early days. I'm sure they've already started to think of ways to not fall into these traps or whatever. But at least for now, y- it's something where, uh, in the most benign case, it's adding content that that's being indexed by the LLM that is not actually reflective of what is on that page. So it might give um, give the user some impression, and then if they go to the source site, then it's not what they expected or whatever. And that is the traditional the way it works with SEO to its T. But also what they're doing, which is explained in this paper that I'll this article that I'll link to in the comments here, is that you can start to give the LM like actual instructions so that it will um, start to behave in ways that are kind of unexpected. So let me show you. Yeah, I mean, one thing they um, so most of the actual user interfaces for LMs don't give enough attribution. So it's not like you're expecting that they're gonna link back to your site or whatever. Um, but like if you want to promote certain products, um, this talks about the yeah. I mean, besides the white on white text, using small text, there's a bunch of different tricks that they can use. Um, let's see, sorry. Oh, this is just some stats. So I hadn't looked at these stats before, but I guess they ran some experiments. Well, okay. Um, the thing I wanted to get to, let me stop that thing because there is different variations of how you can use this, and I'll let you read the article to get to that. But like, I wanted to kind of end the video kind of talking about like where could this potentially lead to from here. And so, in one world, LMs figure out how to get around this, and then it's not an issue anymore or whatever. But I'm also thinking about like, is there a world where like just people don't, even if that works or whatever, is our web apps going to be more and more geared towards robots versus humans? I mean, I guess that's one of the biggest things when I'm thinking through this. Like, I fully expect on the LM provider side they'll get better and whatever else, but like it strikes me that part of this is web app website owners building for LLMs to try to trick them or whatever to service them, however you want to think about it, versus humans. And the more that people use LMs, use chat-based interfaces, um, and the more that these chat-based interfaces don't link to the source sites or have less users going to the source sites and just using these, whether it's chat-based or voice-based with some sort of LLM service, the more that happens, the more that we're going to be building stuff for these services rather than for humans. So I think that it won't be too long until like there'll always be. I mean, it's never going to be black and white. It's. I don't think like it would be to say like the web is dead. Building for the web is dead because people aren't going to go to your website anymore. That they're just going to talk to their personal chatbot and then they'll be fine. Yeah, I just don't think it works that way, and now or potentially ever. For sure for the near future, it still won't transition that far. But do I think that more and more as like a web developer, I'm gonna have to think of both things that then actually I will have to have that as a consideration in my mind of like when I'm building my Angular app, what are what's going to happen when an LM crawls this and serves this content. I think that is something that in the short term, in very you now slash the next year, web app developers, it's going to become more and more of something that's front of mind. And maybe there's a terminology, maybe somebody else has already come up with the terminology for this. Um, but like LLM driven development, whatever. I don't know. That sounds think about some sort of uh, snappy title, that clickbait title type thing that for their terminology for this. But it's basically that uh, viewpoint as a web developer of building for both things, and I think there is a way to do that. I think there is because it's and I guess this is something that I have to like flesh out a little bit to that I do want to flesh out and have as like a more well refined thing. But at kind of a high level, the thing I'm thinking about is for the user side, it's similar to the way it's always been. So you're still doing that, but at the same time, you are thinking about how these crawlers for that are used for LLMs are consuming your content. So that's a big thing, how they're consuming your content and using it. But then that last thing, which I think is important, which isn't being talked about enough about right now, is how you're introducing something piece of functionality that's unique that the LLMs cannot duplicate. So it's not a content based thing, it's more of an app like functionality based thing. And having that set up in a way that in a way you have to have people either use directly or indirectly in your site. So just an example, so I'm not saying that this isn't something that can't be duplicated, but like at least right now, a lot of the chat-based interfaces don't have the ability. Like I'm only mentioning this because this is something that right now would be the case. So right now, Get Human, my company, has this functionality for calling and waiting on hold for you for different companies, and then maybe even like having our technology talk to customer service agent on your behalf, and then kind of link you into the call. So there's like all this telephony based technology, like actually making phone calls, actually some stuff that is not baked into, and maybe and probably won't be. Like maybe some stuff like a fully web-based video conferencing, sure. Like I could see that being integrated into a lot of these uh, chat-based user interfaces, but actually making old school phone calls, probably not. It was for sure not right now. Let's say so. For right now, it's not, and so that is something that LMs can crawl the content, but they can't duplicate that functionality right now, or they don't, right? So if it's something that people are looking for and they're asking about, if the LLM's goal, like so let's say Gemini. So Gemini, in many ways, is trying to service the same mission as Google search was, which is to provide the answers for people's questions. Try to be like, okay, here is the result, and they're doing it in a different way, different format or whatever. But in this case that I'm talking about, they wouldn't be able to give you that functionality. They would either have to tell you, like, if it's a unique piece, and this isn't the case that it's unique for GetHuman, but like if it was, then it's like, okay, you have to go here. So then it would have to link to it or talk to about it. Or one thing I'm hoping for will happen, which isn't right now, and I haven't seen anything, but I'm really hoping things evolve to, is that there's some sort of protocol that's developed in the future where these LM interfaces, there's a common protocol for exposing new functionality that they can easily hook into. So, okay, using the current technology and the current level of things, assuming that you have something unique that's not offered, and assuming that they're trying to provide the answer for this user's question, and your unique application functionality is the only answer, then they have to tell you about it and or actually link to it, and then they have to actually like have you go over there. But potentially they don't have to go there, but they still use that functionality if um, it's exposed in some way. So like essentially like a almost like an app store platform, or I don't know the way you want to think about it, but like I guess there's different ways this could be implemented, but one of the ways I'm thinking about is if there was some well recognized protocol that everybody agreed on, that you provide a certain functionality. So like in this case, okay, it's a wait on hold feature, right? And the different interfaces, uh, Gemini or whatever else, any other um, of these services that are aiming to be the user interface for consumers, for actually users, that it would be able to hook into that functionality, and built into that also, in order for it all to work, like if you just give me this functionality for free with no benefit, whatever, I mean, that just isn't going to work. So there has to be some sort of economics, some sort of incentive system involved there that may or may not involve like actual money exchange. It could be that there's actually a financial direct, these users are paying somehow or whatever. But it could be, you know, other ways too that are indirectly, incentivize the different parties. So that's all just stuff like I've been thinking about, and not well refined or anything like that. So I am trying to have these live streams as just kind of like raw, unedited, kind of initial thoughts and that type of thing. And I feel, and over time, I'm gonna kind of refine these a little bit more. And I think from this video, there's like 4 or 5 different things I was gonna try to eventually like formulate into like really well defined, pieces of content. The thing at the end here that I'm talking about is, almost like what's going to replace the current web incentive system. So like the old school incentive system for the web is you build stuff for free, and Google search rewards you for good free content by giving you users, and you convert those users into money in different ways, either through ads, or you have them, now that you have users, they can sign up for service, and whatever way it is, somehow it translates to money for you. Um, and so that's the old kind of incentive system, or what's happening on the web up until now. Going forward, that may not be the case, or it seems like it's changing a lot. Um, you know, content is being, some people would say, stolen. Depends on your viewpoint, but certainly the current user interfaces are utilizing a lot of the stuff that's free on the web without giving the payback of the old incentive system, and that's kind of disrupting a lot of things. So maybe the new incentive system is something along the lines I'm saying, like if there was some new protocol where the people who have unique piece of functionality are somehow paid back either directly or indirectly. So, anyways, something to continue to think about. Thanks for watching today, and hope you all have a great week.